Sub Rock was like my first like friend in like rap music. I guess you would say that was like my first celebrity friend, like my first artist friend. Not my first artist friend, but like professional artist friend. And I had fucking KMD tapes and fucking was well aware of all their fucking music. Was definitely a fan of KMD. And so when I met them, I was, you know, that was like in the beginning. So that was like really, for me, that was monumental. But then, of course, the whole tragedy with that would be just fucking a really fucking strange way to kind of like be just my first couple of years as like a starting my new career. All my dreams are coming true. I'm making rap records. Um, so that was a strange fucking foray into, you know. Think I'm gonna buy an SUV, says Rob, and save up a little more for something fast, or my policy doing Filipinos. It's not a bad idea. Did I ever meet Big Pun? Nah. I met Fat Joe, but I never met Big Pun. I met Fat Joe, I think I was probably like 20 years old. Flow Joe was his song. You gotta flow, Joe. You gotta flow. Real early on. Constipated Monkeys, of course. That's who I was hanging out with mostly. I knew George, Cotto. I knew, you know, Sub and Danny Doom. Uh, and Bob, and there was a handful. Lord Sear. Probably forgetting a handful more. I definitely am. Yep, Curious George. What was that about George? Through Curious? I don't know what you're asking me. Is that how I met Bob? No. No. So that's easy. The way that I met Bob and Pete Nice the same day. All right. So Pete Nice. So what happens is, it's a real quick, easy story. Is after I got out of Stony Lodge, all the dudes that I was in like little music groups with, or anyone that I like started off like doing, like, he's in a group with this guy, he's in a group with this guy. All those dudes, when I got out of Stony Lodge, had all formed all these groups or whatever. I just wanted to make music. I was fresh out of Stony Lodge. I just wanted to make fucking music. And so my attack was psychotic. Like I didn't give a fuck. Like if somebody made beats, somebody had a studio, whatever the fuck it was, I was all over it. And around that time, I was just putting demos together. And I had a bunch of demos, and there was this dude named Marbles, who was from East New York and Brooklyn. He kept telling me about this dude. My boy's got a record label, la da da. Do or Die Records. Now, the owner of this record label is Keyway and this dude Fred, and they own Do or Die Records. Keyway is friends with Pete Nice. Keyway is mentioned in the song. I'm gonna forget what song it is. I can't remember the name of the song right now. He in the song, and then he's in the video, and he pounds him up in the video. And the song, he's like, my man Keyway Hood type, right? Or grip tight is what they call them. So he keeps promising me about, this dude, da da da. So eventually he just gives me their number. So I call Fred. I talk to Fred. I'm like, dude, he's like, yo, send me your shit. And I'm like, all the stuff that I had on tape at that point, I didn't feel like it was where I was because I was quickly improving. So I wasn't in the frame of mind that I was compiling a body of work that I would put together as, say, when you're collecting work to create an album. It's not the same as when you're just desperately trying to make demos to try to get something to happen, especially when you're like you're 19, you don't even know shit. Right? There's no internet to fucking be like, I'm gonna upload my fucking jam and video today. Bloop. That doesn't exist. You're like, should I mail in my cassette tape demo to the record label? And then years later, you would get people's tapes and tape over their dreams, because you would know all these A&R dudes at record labels, and you'd be like hanging out with them and shit, and you'd be like, oh, and it'd be like, yo, you want some tapes? And they'll just give you a shoebox of tapes that are demos. Be like, did you listen to these? And he's like, some of them. And then so I got into, like, early on, I was like listening to people's demos, just cracking up, like how bad. None of them were good. There were a couple that I think were okay, but they just like, anyway. So I meet these dudes in the Twin Tower lobbies. I said, look, I don't have music that I feel confident playing. I said, but I'll bring a fucking box and I'll spit you all this fucking shit. Because I was just spitting him verses on the phone. And he was like, dude, what the fuck? And so I met him and Keyway in the fucking lobby. I had my book. Dude had a fucking radio. We're sitting in the fucking lobby. And which is crazy because there's Twin Towers. I think it was Tower 1. We're sitting in the fucking lobby, playing this fucking shit, and I'm just spitting all these fucking verses. And so Keyway's like, yo, get him in the studio now. So then that began my New York City life. Because before that, all I ever did in New York was just fuck around. But now it was like I had a reason, because I was living in Middletown, upstate New York. So now I had a reason to, come to fucking spend all this fucking time in New York. So make songs, and Keyway decides, I don't think I want to put this music out on my record label. And I was like, why? He's like, I know Pete Nice from Third Base. I think I want to try to get this signed and get you a deal. So he was thinking bigger, much bigger. I was like, what? I was just excited that you had a record label. I wasn't thinking like, oh yeah, let's get signed to a major label. Ever. So that kind of threw me for a fucking loop, and the whole thing kind of threw me for a fucking loop. So to end this little tale, this is how I meet Pete Nice and Bobbito. And they heard like the Crazy Men Ahead demo and some other stuff. And at that point, I remember I meet them, and they're just like, yo, you're crazy. Da, da, da. And Pete's like, yo, I want to sign you. Da, da, da. And so I'm 19 years old. Keep in mind, 6 months ago, I just got out of Stony Lodge. So I get out of Stony Lodge, and, I'm faking my pills like I'm not taking my pills. So I'm taking my pills under my tongue and fucking sleight of hand and shit. I took it. So, I mean, that window is insane. That's an insane fucking window to like not only get out of a mental hospital and be like, I'm back, you know, and no one cares but you. But everyone's so adamantly against me, which was very strange. It was like, yeah, we're in a group. Yeah, we're doing that. Yeah, we're in this group. So many stubborn people in Middletown. I spent a while trying to get dudes to kind of rally up. Dudes that were talented dudes. And like, look, here's the door. This is how you get in, guys. And like, they refused. They wanted to go this like weird mixtape route in Middletown. It's like, nah, it's not. That's not going to work, guys. And it didn't work. Because no one from that fucking town has fucking, you know. Anyway, that's how I meet Stretch. Is through Bob and through Pete. And that's the first time I meet Bob. And then Bob's telling me about this radio show. And Bob's just like, yo, I want to get you up on the radio, kid. Yo, kid, I want to get you on the radio, kid. Yo, just come down to WKCR 89 Tech 9, kid. And I was like, all right. I'd never been on the radio before. So I was like, all right, that's dope. Or whatever I was saying then. Maybe I was saying dope. Have I been saying dope since I'm 13 years old? That's how long I've been making rap songs. Since I was fucking 12, 13 years old. So that's what fucking happens. That's how I meet those dudes. And then what happens after that? Well, then that's... The stories just don't end, dude. They're every little fucking story has so much. There's so much to see. There's so much to lead into that. You know? Like, it's funny, like, even going back and thinking about being 15 and, like, you know, doing the tape trick with the cassette tape where you stop and play, stop record, pause, and then just keep catching it and start looping it like that. Like two to four bars at a fucking time. Like, if you could find a song that had like a fucking eight bars or some shit like that, like, you could fucking like, oh, that's great. I just looped this like fucking 6-7 times. Cause you didn't have any production. You didn't have any way to make beats. And plus, like, at that point, like, what were you gonna do? Get like a little Dr. Rhythm keyboard and sound like you're in fucking UTFO? Those times were long gone by that point, you know? It's like by the time I'm like old enough to fucking to freestyle and to like to you know, create actual fucking thoughts and put them into fucking, you know, these schematics and fucking and make these songs come alive and shit. Like, by the time I understand or have a feeling, a natural feeling to be able to do that it was at least good enough that anyone that was around me would be like, oh shit, like, oh. So I think there was a lot of like jealousy early on and shit. Weird shit, dude. I think like fucking every dude from Middletown that I grew up with that I haven't spoken to in decades all have fucking diss songs. Like every dude that I knew like since I was like fucking 12, you know? Like, oh yeah, I knew that guy when I was 12. What did he say? Telling tales of me about when I was a child, you know? Putting me through like a fucking, 40-year-old man lens. Like I wasn't fucking 14 or something. But still, none of those dudes Except for the ones that went to jail. None of those dudes were in fucking group homes. I was in 4 different fucking group homes. Like, talk about bad kid. Like, from 14, 15 group homes. So, the next best thing to, like, DFY, which is, like, basically the same fucking thing, except it's not as much of a prison vibe. It's more like, you're in, like, cottages and shit like that, dormitories and shit. I guess it's like the same fucking thing. Because it's a lockdown. It's not like you can't come and go, It's like you move as groups and shit. Very similar to Stony Lodge. So the precursor to Stony Lodge is being in different group homes. Because I just wouldn't live at home. Because I just beefed too much at home. I beefed all the time with my stepfather, so it was always just so much violence in the house. So it was like, they were like, I don't know what to fucking do with him. He can't live on his fucking own. So In Between sent me to live with my uncle in Germany. So group homes. Then it's like, hey, take a vacation to Germany, kid. You're gonna go get in touch with your roots, and you're gonna go live with your fucking crazy uncle in Germany, who was American but stationed in Germany and had never left the army up until he stayed in from Vietnam. He just never left, so he was like a warrant officer, like maybe 2 or something. But anyway, without going, all into all that, but it's funny to look back, and then you go, man, every one of those dudes has like a song against me. It's like, and they still didn't do it. Just like strange. It's like, why didn't you do this? Like, this is all you wanted to do. That's what we wanted to do when we were 12, Chris. So that's what I think about. That's my life, is doing what I wanted to do when I was 12. So that I can basically sum my entire life up that way. Everything I'm doing is the stuff I wanted to do when I was 12. Pretty much. Like, all right. Imagine you set yourself up as a teenager, and you didn't go to college, you didn't go the one of the many provided routes to find success that they have for you, which are mostly traps. They're just all mouse traps. They're like, all these provided paths, these are all ways for you to get to success, and it's just a fucking trap. There's various different traps. He's got a sticky trap. He's got a clamp on his neck and he's suffocating to death. This one over here is going to find a bunch of pills to eat, and he's going to fucking run outside dehydrated and his insides are going to burst. Those are all the paths that they have for fucking success for you. So I think that's fucking, you're like, I'm gonna make fucking rap music. That's what I'm gonna do. Looking at Big Daddy Kane going, yep, that's totally me. This is something I could fucking do. This is a fucking life right here. That's what I was fucking thinking. What? Driving around in luxury cars, wearing fucking expensive jewelry, and fucking listen to this music. This is like the best music ever made. And then you start chasing that. But then what do you do when your 12-year-old obsession, whatever it is, becomes a fucking lucrative reality? And then you become a man as you're already doing that. So it's very much it's almost like that kind of like weird child actor, child star thing to a degree. And you're kind of like, this isn't, it's like I was just given this fucking thing. I was given this like as a job, as like, this is my profession. This art form here is like, again, it really does kind of feel like, and then because you're doing drugs the whole time, then you start, it really is like you came out of a coma and everyone is telling you, you know, so you don't remember anything? And no. And you're like, yeah, you're a rapper, blah, blah, blah. You made all these albums. And you're like, are you fucking serious? It's like Quantum Leap, but like the Dust version